俺がガンダムだ。
The RG Exia is back with a whole new set of parts to make it the Avalanche Exia Dash. How does the base Exia hold up after 11 years? What did Bandai do to improve upon it? Let's find out. Released in June 2025 at an SRP of 5,500 yen, tax included, we have the premium Bandai RG Avalanche Exia Dash. As per usual, the box is monochromatic, which is standard for most premium Bandai kits. The art is the classic RG style box art with the full CG render of the mobile suit in front of a close-up of the head bust. By the way, the text says Gundam Avalanche Exia apostrophe, but it's actually pronounced Avalanche Exia Dash. In Japanese, it's Dashi. So I'm not really sure why it's an apostrophe because last time I checked, that's not a dash. And also I checked like how it's translated in Japanese and I can't find any sources to why it's called dash, but it uses an apostrophe. If you know, please let me know in the comments. I would appreciate it. Anyways, for the size of the box, there's nothing notable other than just the name of the mobile suit and some legal information. And of course, here's what it would look like stacked in your backlog. Opening up the box, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bags of runners and the manual. The manual is a close-up of the mobile suit. Here it is compared to the original Exia's manual. Opening it up, we have a large runner list. And as expected, we're gonna have quite a bit of unused parts from the base Exia. The rest of the manual contains the instructions, nothing special. Then at the back, we have a decal guide for both the base Exia and the Avalanche Exia Dash. Lastly, we have the color chart. For the runners, we have a total of 21, 9 of which are from the original Exia from 2014, which includes the infamous MS joint runner, which if you aren't familiar, used to be the main gimmick of rail grades back in the day to have it be the base of the entire frame. Nowadays, it's just relegated for small sections of a build, which is better most of the time. This kit will be using most of the runners, so let's see how that fares when it's built. The original runners also include a plated runner for the sword and the blades, and we also get 2 V-fins, so you have a spare just in case one disappears into the void. The next 10 are newly made for the Avalanche Exia Dash. It is manufactured this year, 2025, labeled Avalanche Exia Dash. And the last 2 runners are for the beam saber effect parts and an action base, which is in this nice sparkly green clear. We also get thick plastic strips for the GN power lines and a sticker decal sheet. Unfortunately, not water sliced despite being P Bandai, but usually it's reserved for the master grade ones. So that's it for the contents, let's get to the build. For the build of this model kit, it felt nostalgic as one of the first RGs I built was the original RG Exia a few years ago when I was new. The construction of the base Exia is pretty simple compared to newer RGs of course, but we still get plenty of moving parts and color separation. The little clear strips for the power lines were a bit annoying to place, especially on the head, so I suggest using some tweezers for those parts. Surprisingly, the Avalanche and the Dash parts were pretty parts heavy. I would say around a third or maybe more of the build were new parts. Speaking of which, we have to talk about the improvements it has to the frame as we are adding extra weight. Well, the only real big change are on the hips. They made an entirely new hip joint so it can support the Dash parts. But besides that, we still get the frame of the original RG that was released 11 years ago, which if you subscribe to the quote-unquote early real grade syndrome is probably not a good sign for its stability. Though from what I remember at least, when I built the original a few years ago, it wasn't too bad, but let's see how it works with the newer armor add-ons later. Here is the Avalanche Exia, without the dash parts yet, and it looks great. The color separation, as expected for a real grade, is really good, especially for the new parts. We got a lot of nice yellow highlights, especially with the thrusters, they look great. We have some frame parts sticking out. Overall, lots of nice detail. This kit would look even better with some simple effort like panel lining decals. Maybe if you want a full paint job. Speaking of doing a paint job, no masking or additional painting is required for full color accuracy as this kit is fully color accurate out of the box. Size comparison wise, it is around the typical Gundam height, specifically 18.3 meters tall or in 1144 scale, a little less than 13 centimeters. Here is it next to the Police Zaku from G-Quox and the RG Shining Gundam. Now that we're done looking at just the Avalanche Exia, let's look at the complete Avalanche Exia with the dash parts. I'll show you how it connects later, but let's talk about how it looks for now. And what can I say? It looks amazing. The new parts are definitely more modern in terms of engineering and look than the base kit, obviously. There are some issues with the stability and overall connections. I'll get into that later, but looks-wise, it is on par with the newer RGs we are seeing. Amazing part separation, no seam lines, great panel line designs, no hollow parts, you get inner frames for everything, just very premium feeling, just when you look at it. So aesthetics-wise, this kit is probably the best looking, remember, best looking version of the Avalanche Exia Dash in model kit form. The AG is a bit older, still looks pretty decent with some more work. The MG looks good, but comparing them side by side, the RG just has more part separation, slightly more detail, though that's a bit more subjective if you like more detail or not. But for me at least, I think it looks better. Here's what the model kit comes with out of the box. We get 4 pairs of hands, the classic GN sword, the GN long blade and the GN short blade, the GN shield, the 2 handles for the GN beam sabers and daggers. There are 4 more attached to the mobile suit. We also have the beam effect parts for them in clear red. The more flatter types are for the GN beam sabers plus daggers, and the standard looking ones are for the dash parts. Speaking of which, we have the dash units, 1 for each leg. And we also have some adapters, 1 for storing the GN blades, 1 for the shield, and 1 action-based adapter. And of course, we also get the pilot figure of the Gundam or Setsuna FCA. And I almost forgot, we also get this nice sparkly green action base. For the right hand, we have the open grasping hand, the old school pre-molded RG articulated hands with a 3-finger split, which don't really look that good to be honest, but you don't really use them for this model kit, so they're just there as a reminder of the base kit, which is almost able to go to high school. We also have a closed fist and a holding fist. For the left hand, it's pretty much the same, just the open hand is more, how do I say it? It doesn't have the grasping type of pose, it's more straight. The rest is just the articulated, the fist, and the holding. For the weapons, let's take a look at the iconic GN sword. The blade is in a nice metallic silver. For the construction, it's pretty much ideal to the original RG, but the back gray piece and the connector to the forearm is different because the Avalanche has new forearm parts. Also, the shield bit can be attached to either side, so you can use the GN sword in either arm. To attach it, we just sandwich it onto the holding hand, attach the hand into the forearm, and place the forearm connector of the blade to the slot at the top of the forearm. And there we go, we have the GN sword attached. Also, if you're familiar with the GN sword, it can be a rifle by folding the blade. Now let's talk about the dash parts. They have quite a bit of articulation. There's a thruster opening gimmick, which is nice. Then there's the articulated claws called the GN claws at the end, where you can place the standard beam effect parts so you can wield even more swords, as if this kit needed more. To attach the dash parts, you have to remove some armor at the legs, these at the side of the calves, and the knee armor. The dash parts then sandwich on, and honestly, not the strongest connection. I feel like it's a bit too shallow and it might detach if you're moving it too much, but if it's posed, it won't fall off, so that's something. Coming up next are the GN long blade and the GN short blade. The blades are in that nice metallic silver, same as the GN sword. To place them onto the hands, they just slide in. Not very securely, but good enough. To store them, there are 2 ways. The first is the same as the original Exia, where these attachment points can pop out of the hip joint, then you just place them onto the peg. The new way of attaching them is using this adapter. They actually use new gray pieces for the hilt for this connection, in which they just slide in, so you just place it at the back. And I forgot to mention that you can also store the GN sword at the back using the same forearm connector. Next is the GN shield. This one is completely identical to the original, so it has the same gimmick where there's a deployed state and a stored state. However, because of the new forearm armor, the Avalanche Exia has no way to attach it, unlike the original Exia. So really, the only place to attach the shield is using this adapter and attaching it onto the back skirt. Lastly, we have the GN beam saber / dagger handles. Unlike the ones stored in the mobile suit, these ones are meant to be held because they have pegs in which they slot into the hands. Then you have the 2 pairs of beam effect parts, the longer beam saber and the shorter beam dagger. Lastly, we have the action-based adapter. What can I say? It's an action-based adapter. It's a bit tricky to place once you have all the dash parts equipped, but it works well enough, especially with the action base included. Overall, the accessories of this kit are well made and are nicely engineered, and it's also really cool that you can store majority of the armaments onto the mobile suit. Also, the accessories that we get are complete. We aren't missing anything that the Avalanche Exia Dash has in lore, plus we got a base, so overall, it's justifying the higher price point. For the articulation, the neck is double jointed with the head being on a ball joint. The shoulder has a wiggle, a little bit forward and back. The arm can do a full 360. There's quite a bit of articulation at the shoulder armor with a thruster gimmick. There is a 360 at the upper bicep. Limited elbow bend due to the additional forearm armor. The arm can go 90 degrees to the side. Limited ab crunch, basically nothing. The backward bend is blocked by the back skirt. We get an okay side to side, some rotation at the waist. Back skirt has some articulation. There are no side skirts, so we get a decent sideward kick for the leg splits. 360 rotation at the hips. Front skirt can move out of the way, so we can get a forward kick, though not as high as we would like. We get a really nice knee bend with some moving armor gimmicks. The ankle armor can move. The ankle has great inward and outward movement. It can even go full 360 rotation, great downward and upward bend with tiny articulated toe. Then the backpack has some movement. As you can see, the articulation of this kit is limited, especially when it includes the added bulk that the newer armor adds. I decided to do the articulation without the dash parts so you can see it at its best, because once you add the dash parts, the articulation is very restricted. Not saying you can't get any cool poses, you just have to be a bit more creative. Before I finish this review, I want to talk about the issues that popped up as I was making it. The shoulders pop off the C-clip very easily. As you can see, it already has a stress mark. This may be due to the added weight and bulk, so that needs some tightening. Also, the arm just sags now as it can't handle all the weight, including the G and sword. And there it goes, the shoulder pops off again. Also, the knees aren't able to be straight when the dash is equipped, as any little movement will cause it to bend. The back skirt is also easily detached. The V-fin clashes with the beam saber handle, so one wrong move, it'll fly off. These thrusters at the shoulders tend to pop off as well, and just finicky to handle in general. So without any extra effort like glue or tightening, this kit is very annoying to maneuver and pose with. Dare I say a little bit hand grenadey. Okay, as I was making this review, there is a third-party upgrade set for the RG00 inner frames that just came out that apparently fixes the frame issues. If you guys want me to test it out, please let me know in the comments. So in conclusion, did Bandai fix the problem of the older Exia? Well, in my opinion, they actually kind of made it worse. The original Exia had some issues, but it wasn't that bad, despite being an earlier real grade. I think the main problem is that the new parts just don't work well with the frame of the original. They didn't change much about the frame except the hips, and that shows. The original frame was designed to only handle the pretty lightweight Exia. When they add this much additional parts and mass, it just falls apart out of the box. So for me, this kit needs some extra work to make it more stable. Now, is this kit a buy? Well, this kit is the best looking version of this design, but it is definitely flawed. So you should only buy this if you're willing to do the extra effort in fixing its weight and stability issues, which I always encourage people to do, but if you don't have the time nor the energy to do so, then maybe this kit might not be for you. So are you gonna buy this kit? What are your thoughts about the kit in general, and what's your opinion on the whole early real grade syndrome thing? Let me know in the comments below. And of course, feel free to like and subscribe if this video gave you any value, and of course, thank you for watching. Bye!